Hello everyone. I'm here to improve your level of Hindi. Most of my students ask about sample paper. Ma'am, should I solve it? What are the advantages of doing it? What are the disadvantages of not doing it? So, I thought these questions should be answered by the student who already gave the board exam. So, let's seize the day.
Being a 12th pass out means I have definitely written 10th boards, and here I am sitting to share my experience as a student of dealing with sample papers and basically living with them for the last 3 months before my board exam. So, moving on, we'll first see what sample papers are. So, what is a sample paper? Sample paper is nothing but a blueprint sorts of the paper that you're going to write. Now, it gives you an insight about the back end process of an examination, typically board examinations. So, they release this paper to reduce your panic, as in, you can refer to it, you can look at how the paper is gonna be, and at most of the times, the questions are similar, not the same, but surely similar to what has been released. This is why many teachers repeatedly ask you to solve these papers, do sample paper, or they make you solve questions from the sample paper as revision questions. So sample paper is very important if you want to know how your exam is exactly going to look like. Why do we need them? Why do we need these sample papers? Why is everyone talking about sample papers before board exam, like did you solve sample paper or not? So why do we need them? There are quite a number of reasons why we need them, but there are a few. For example, it increases your confidence level. You can download this paper, sample paper, at the comfort of your house and then keep solving it till you can get the answers. It tells you how the questions are going to be, how they're going to ask the questions, and not only that, with these sample papers certain answer keys are released, so you can actually see how the answers are marked. So you know that if a certain answer needs this many points, you have to write those, and that's very compulsory. So it basically shows you where you stand. It's like a mirror just before the exam, so you know where you are, and repeatedly solving them, these questions can give you a lot of confidence, reduces anxiety, and makes you familiar with how the exam environment is going to be, as in how much anxiety you're going to get when you see the paper. Second reason why they are important is because they teach you the art of writing the paper. Solving a sample paper not only increases your confidence, but also looking at the answer key tells you what kind of answers they are expecting and how should you write the answers. So you know that for a question you need 3 points, so you only write 3 points. Then there are certain ways of solving a sample paper, and it also said that in answer key that if this is given, for example, especially in maths, Hindi and English papers, the format is very important. There are marks only for the format, so even if you don't know any content, you just write the format, you get 1.5 marks. So it basically tells you how to present your paper and shows the examiner, oh, this person knows something what they're writing. Next reason would be question and answer. A human mind focuses more and is more alert while trying to solve the problem rather than passively learning it. So if you sit with a book and learn something, like you're sitting and mugging up, you won't learn much other than the fact that you studied it. But looking at a sample paper, looking at the question, and then trying to solve it makes your mind active and really sets the process of problem solving in your head. So even when you're not studying, your mind will be constantly having that process of, oh, what was the answer of that, why did I forget that, how should I improve on that, and then you open your book and see. So it does not really it makes studying very natural. It makes your mind want to answer such questions and why you couldn't answer them. So it really makes a human mind alert, and it is said that human mind functions better when facing a problem rather than when you're sitting at the comfort of your zone. So answering these questions really puts your mind in that process of getting to know how you're going to write the exam, or maybe training your mind that, oh, you have to face an exam, you have to write it. Next reason why we need to solve sample papers is, even when you're not active, these questions will stay in your mind because they're not large chunks of information, rather very small snippets of information that your brain can easily retain. And trust me, you learn more solving papers than you learn from a textbook. Yes, you need the textbook because that's the material you have to refer for the exam, but solving a sample paper makes you work smart rather than hard. So when you solve a sample paper, answers retain in your mind so well that even when you are asleep and someone wakes you up, you'll be able to answer these questions rather than remembering and memorizing and narrating a 5 paragraph rote learning process. This is easier because it really helps to store information in form of small snippets or small chunks that your brain and stomach can easily digest. So it puts you in a very relaxed state of mind. Time management. When you take a sample paper, set time to it and try to solve it, it will really show you whether you can manage time or not. It shows you how the question pattern is going to be, how many questions are going to be in each section. So why not use that to your opportunity and then decide how much time you want to give to each question. Like, for example, writing questions require time to think, to gather all the information, to check all the grammar, to maintain the format. Especially in Hindi, where spelling mistakes are common, practicing really makes it easier to score because all the spelling mistakes that you could make in the exam, you make it at home, and so you can rectify your mistakes and then go to exam like a happy student. Just answer and then come back. Board exam won't seem like a board exam if you keep on solving these papers or even questions from these papers, because after a certain point your brain will be like, oh, this is routine, I know this, I can do this. Also, time management will make you less anxious while writing the paper. I won't say it won't make you anxious at all, but it will make you less anxious because you'll know how much time to allot to each question. You won't go in a hasty mode to write all the answers first. 1 mark answer, spend half an hour on 1 mark answer or something. You'll know how much time for to give to each section, and you'll be more prepared. It basically makes you more organized, so that when the bell rings, you're not like tying up the paper, rather just giving it to examiner's hand, or you don't want a snatching situation where your paper is torn to shreds. Yeah, so but it's better to solve sample papers so that you get a better view, insight of how the time should be controlled. Next would be repeat. Now we all know teachers are humans, not some kind of creatures who will sit and make, or neither are the scientists who will sit and make new questions, because they don't have time. They have lives like us, and they want to live happily. No one wants to sit in an exam center writing questions. So what do? They do nothing. They take the old questions, change the values a bit, and put them as new questions. Or maybe they change the character name, write a character sketch of so and so. That's just the XYZ. Only the XYZ is changed. Oftentimes they're given like format of questions, so they know like, okay, these type of questions are to be asked. So mostly questions are repeated. Now if you only focus on your textbook, you will miss out on these questions, because these questions are what makes up a whole exam scenario. If you want to work smart and not hard, you have to refer to sample papers, because solving sample papers, okay, not only sample papers but like previous year questions, also makes you smarter, because you know there are only 6 type of questions that are gonna come, and then I can answer all these. I just have to plug and fix these parts from what I learned from the textbook, so that I can get a good answer. Questions are mostly repeated, unless there is a devil's offspring who decides to make a new question entirely, like it was done in the past few papers in history, which was like the hardest exams ever. There won't be any kind of new questions, they're all just repeated, because they want to test the knowledge. And how much will a teacher even work? They don't want to work overtime. Yeah, so it's better to refer to sample papers if you want to know what are the 6 or 7 format of questions that are continuously asked. Basically they're serving you the exam questions on a plate, you just have to take it and eat it. You just have to make your own cutlery, that is you solving them. Next would be how should we do them? Like, okay, sample paper, what do we do? Just take the paper, look at it, and we'll get. No, you're not supposed to do that. You should first take a sheet of paper, write your name nicely, how you write in the exam. Do not make it a messy paper, because if you make your sample papers messy, your exam paper is gonna be messier, because that's the final thing and you're gonna try to fit in everything. That won't work. So take a sheet of paper and write stuff on it, and you have to have the papers the same format as the cbse does. No, don't buy those thin low quality papers, buy good quality papers only. Then you have to write, because unless you write, you don't know what you are going to do. In cbse, muscle memory is more important, because your hand remembers more than your brain does. So when you try to practice, write and practice again and again and again, your hand will become habitual. So even if you're not thinking at that point of time during the exam, your hand knows what it's doing, and you will be surprised to know how many correct answers you get after solving a sample paper. Then is book. You close your book. You don't open your book. Don't open your book and check the answers. You close the book, you write the answers, then you wait till the time is over basically, and then you check at the end, where do you actually stand? Become a teacher. Think like a teacher. How would you grade these marks? This is your time to take out all your frustrations on yourself basically. But you can become like a teacher, and then you can correct your paper how you want. You can give marks, and then you can check, where do you actually stand? How much marks do you get? The more sample papers you solve, I have seen that it gets progressively better. So there is hope for the best. Then next thing would be, narrate it out. You should tell what are the mistakes. Go talk to your parent or someone you know, or your friend, like, oh, I solved a sample paper, these were the mistakes, and they'll ask you what was the question. So this is how the conversation gets going, and then at a point you can teach them how to solve the questions. So you're not only learning but teaching, and teaching is the best form of learning something new. So sample papers help in any way. Then comes example of a good solved paper, and this shows like this person has referred to past papers. So what is a good solved paper? Good solved paper is mostly by toppers. These are papers published. You can go them and check online. You'll see that these are PDFs or maybe Word documents of these toppers answer sheets, and they're usually like the model paper, like this is how your paper should be. So doing the breakdown analysis of how sample papers help, here's how a good solved paper results from solving a sample paper. So first, as you can see, the paper is super neat. Like my paper wasn't neat, but yours can be if you solve a lot of these papers. So you solve these papers and you can see the neatness, and neatness for once shows confidence that you know what you're doing with it. Then you can see the question numbers on question number is done correctly, it's written correctly, heading is there, everything is there. This person knows what they're doing. You can tell by looking at it that this person knows, and so can the examiner. Examiner is a human, remember that. Then you can see the format is followed correctly, again, which gives them bonus 1.5 marks out of 5. That's a lot of marks. Then you can see that there is no kind of scribbling or cutting out of answers, because that shows like this person has written and practiced a lot rather than sitting and learning it, because there is no sort of spelling mistake, no scribbles, no cuts. They were very confident with what they were writing. So yeah, that's how sample paper can help. It tells you how to solve a board paper and what to do. It puts your brain in a situation of marathoning to answer the questions. It makes you very confident in writing. So what's there not good about it? What's there to not solve it? You can start today onwards, and I am sure it will help you to get better marks in board exam.
This was the end of the video. If you like this video, please like and subscribe my channel, and do share with your friends. Take care. Best of luck for your exam. Bye.